All right, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, this is the last character that I currently have maxed up to Friendship 6 for their lore. Following Kazuha, eventually I'm going to be working on Ayaka and then all of the following characters that come out following Inazuma. But we have Kaedehara Kazuha, birthday October 29th, a couple days before Halloween, so we're going to be seeing that this year. Affiliated with Beto's ship, the Crux Fleet, with an Animo Vision and constellation Acer Palmatum. A wandering samurai from Inazuma who is currently in Liyue's Crux Fleet. A gentle and carefree soul whose heart hides a great many burdens from the past. Oh, what the heck? There's actually one here that is not available to me. The Vision Shell. I don't know if Kazuha shows up again during Inazuma, but we might have to wait until that one is maxed out. We'll see if there's any requirements once we get there. So we have character details. Most people who meet Kaedehara Kazuha for the first time might be inclined to assume that he's just a trainee sailor with the Crux Fleet. After all, he is a gentle soul who enjoys reciting poetry while idle and who speaks to everyone in a leisurely manner. Who can tell that he is a wanted man throughout Inazuma? Even Beto, ever the good judgment of character, could not tell that Kazuha could wield a sword with the skill of a seasoned warrior when she first decided to take him in. Who knows if it was the storm of life that smoothed out his rough edges, or if his natural restraints had kept his edge sheathed. Character story 1. The Crux, an armed fleet from Liyue, spent many of the years on the high seas, and its sailors are quite used to the vagaries of life in other nations. So they were more curious than surprised when an outlander began serving as a sailor on their flagship, the Alcor. The sailor in question was picked up when the Alcor docked at the Inazuman port of Rito. Okay, so I'm assuming that's a place in Inazuma that we're going to be able to go to. Beto had made friends with this young man, and when he came on board, she told her crewmates, "This guy's going to be staying with us for a while. Take care of him now." The sailors trusted Beto's judgment and admired the newcomer with his martial prowess, not to mention his ability to predict the weather, so they were happy to overlook his reticence to discuss the past and welcomed him abroad. Still, their curiosity did not abate, and they would often find all sorts of excuses to try and pry for information about his experience. I've heard that they make some sweet blades there in Inazuma, and that the bigger the fish you are, the swankier the sword. So how's yours measure up? Kazuha would remain silent in the face of such queries. Over time, after countless attempts to garner a response proved futile, the sailors would simply give up asking. Eventually, it was an off-the-cuff remark from Chief Mate Juza just a few days later that finally managed to elicit a reply. "Hey, Inazuma boy, what are the lads supposed to call you if they don't know your name?" The sailor wiped the sweat from his brow with his calloused hand. "My name is Kaedehara Kazuha, a wandering samurai. I am at your debt for taking me in, so just call me Kazuha." I don't think it's anyone's business what he's doing. Obviously, like, why would he want to tell anybody that he's fleeing, you know, a totalitarian dictatorship nation after witnessing his friend get killed by the fucking Electro Archon, apparently. I don't blame him either for wanting to keep his past a secret. Character story 2. Kazuha was not born a commoner. He hails from an Inazuman noble house of old, the last son of the Kaedehara clan. Inazuma City is home to many illustrious clans, and the Kaedehara name was one of the most renowned among them. But fortune is fickle, and the Kaedehara's fortune has already collapsed by the time they were Kazuha's to inherit. That's unfortunate. As a young master of the house, Kazuha could do nothing but watch his family's fortune crumble around him. But as helpless as this made him feel, when the moment came that the house was finally repossessed and the last attendant was finally dismissed, he breathed a sigh of relief. As far as he was concerned, this was a golden opportunity to begin leading a free and wandering life. He had always longed to roam the mountains and forests and had held a deep admiration for beauty and authenticity of nature since his youth. To Kazuha, nature had never been silent. It was always spoken to him, conveying its feelings in a unique language. When the wind ceases to speak, the world falls silent, that it is calm before the skies begin to weep. When silent springs finally leap into action, it is an omen of a great earthquake. There was a unique poetic that nature had bestowed upon him, and Kazuha was never one to be preoccupied with luxuries anyway. So if the burden of family responsibilities could drop from his shoulders, why not go wandering and travel light? Thus did Kazuha strike out of his journey like a falling leaf in the yard carried away by the wind. I guess he ended up living the life that he always wanted to. He was in a renowned family. They were terrible with their money and they didn't know how to manage properly, and by the time it was his turn to inherit, they were already broke. broke, so that is pretty shitty and unfortunate. Character story 3. All travelers who outdoors roam need some skill to call their own. For Kazuha, it's his ability to read the sound of nature. After leaving Inazuma City, Kazuha wandered here and there. Things were different now. All the nature of his treasured home and the sound of winds and water beneath the sight of drifting clouds set his heart at ease. All that he saw on the road filled him with curiosity. It was at this state of mind that Kazuha arrived at the mountain of the south. It was early summer, and the frequent and heavy rainfall had turned the mountain's roads to mud. Seeing that night was soon to fall, Kazuha decided to find somewhere to shelter from the rain. No sooner had he had this thought that he turned around to see a small straw hut in the far end of the road. The traveling merchant with whom he was traveling at that time whooped for joy at the sight of the hut. "Kazuha, look, we'll have a roof over our heads tonight." But Kazuha did not speak. He paused and listened intently for a long while before he finally replied, "If you were to ask my opinion, it'd be best to stay away." But the merchant did not remain in the rain. He left Kazuha and made his way to the house. Upon knocking on the door, the traveling merchant was met with a lonely woman who offered him shelter, tea, food, and even bedding for the night. Perhaps it was the excellent food, but the merchant quickly became drowsy and fell asleep immediately after finishing his meal. When he woke up the final morning, there was no roof over his head, the bright sun piercing his eyes, and all he could see was Kazuha standing nearby, looking at him and smiling. Before the merchant could speak, he vomited a great deal of leaves and mud. As for the bedding upon which he had slept so soundly, it was mud too. Kazuha smiled and said, "The wind is weaker where there are houses, yet there stood a hut, and there was no change in the mountain breeze. I suspect you might have been a victim of a Bake Danuki's prank. Never mind. Next time, listen more closely to the wind and tread with care." Is that like a creature of Inazuma? A Bake Danuki. Sounds like a Tanuki. Yeah, that guy got debated. Feel sad, man. Character story 4. Character story 4. Kazuha made many friends during his travels. One of them was particularly close to his heart, and for a long time, the two journeyed together. But they too would part, for their destinations were different. To have met merely by chance and then formed such a strong bond, it must be a fated connection between them. So although they would part ways for sure, surely they would meet again. Or so Kazuha thought. But something happened soon afterwards that would shatter his calm disposition. The almighty shogun promulgated the Vision Hunt Decree and swore to receive all visions. All who wielded them, including Kazuha, were stricken to panic, concealing their identities and going into hiding. It was then that Kazuha received shocking news. Someone had dared to call for a duel before the throne, and that someone was none other than Kazuha's dear friend. The defeated party in the duel before the throne would face punishment at the hand of the shogun herself. His friend, who prepared to risk all to come before the throne, partly for the chance to fight against a strong foe, but also to demonstrate the meaning of courage to all. And yet, to call for this challenge now of all times, Kazuha feared that his punishment, should he fail, would be absolute. The almighty shogun would release her lightning upon him to the full fury, and it would surely take his life. Even the normally calm Kazuha could not restrain himself. He drew his sword and stormed to Tenshukaku like a whirlwind, but alas, he arrived too late. His friend's sword lay shattered in pieces, his vision now an empty husk. Now a wanted man himself, Kazuha fled with grief in his heart. So this was what we saw in that one trailer with him and his friend. From that moment on, the days of peaceful wandering were over, and Kazuha's life became an endless series of battle. Kazuha did not fear battle, of course, but the constant fighting left him feeling lost and perplexed. He did not regret having set out in this doomed rescue mission, nor did he begrudge his friend for leaving him, but he could not help but think, is this endless conflict truly the way to assert one's ideals? Yeah, he's probably not proud of where he's from right now. Like, all the shit that's happened, the leader of his country killed his friend and caused him to flee. At the end of the day, he's now not a wanderer by choice, he's a wanderer by force. Like, now he has to go into hiding and hide away because he's a wanted man. Character story 5. The Crux fleet became Kazuha's new home, and he drifts on the ocean wherever it took him. Trouble still found him from time to time, but no issue was insurmountable with the support of the Crux fleet. From his vantage point on the Alcor's crow's nest, gazing out at the azure sea and skies, he finally had a space to think over the tumultuous events of the past and what it all meant to him. Every samurai wishes to live their life with passion and to claim the greatest reputation possible using the sword in their hands. But there will always be those who base desires upon them astray from the path of justice and virtue, and those blades lead to endless trials of enmity in their wake. Surely the heavens did not give us fleshy forms, and the gods did not watch over our lives, also we might take arms against each other. Then this sword I wield is not meant to slay, but to save. Yes, this shall be the path as a samurai, and I shall defend it all my days. As he reached the conclusion of his thoughts, Kazuha was suddenly inspired to pen down a few verses to serve as a maxim for himself thereafter. But before he could get started, he was interrupted by an irate voice from down below. Hey Kazuha, quit gawking at the sky. Get down here and lend a hand. It seemed the Maxim would have to wait another day. Whatever the helmsman Sea Drake needed help with clearly couldn't wait. That's kind of funny, not gonna lie. Vision. The morning mist covered the mountains like a blanket as Kazuha trod a small trail alone. The world was silent. Not a single feather flapped and not a single cicada sang. Even the roiling waves seemed to have fallen into slumber, leaving just a faint whisper of the winds audible against the silence. Kazuha stuck out his tongue. The air tasted heavy and gloomy. This told him it would soon rain. He peered into the distance and spotted a plume of smoke up ahead. Below were several straw huts. Tonight it seemed he would have a roof over his head. He informed the owner of the house that a storm was coming. At first he was met with skepticism, but come noon the rain arrived right on cue. In awe of the wanderer's skills, the master of the house eagerly offered him lodging. The storm raged into the night. Kazuha held his quilt close and listened to the onslaught of rain against the autumn leaves. His mind began to wander. In the time since the Kaedehara clan's fortune had faded away, he had set off on his journey. Kazuha had traveled across many of Inazuma's islands and had become intimately acquainted with the plights of the wanderers. Moving between islands usually necessitated traveling by sea. Kazuha would make these trips alone in a small, slow boat, making it all the more perilous when he had to battle against strong high winds or violent thunderstorms. And yet, there was a limitless fascination to be found in the same journey of his, where the vast skies and boundless earth was his home. All the living beings that inhabited them were his friends. If one's heart is empty, all under heaven is empty. But if one's heart is pure, all under heaven is pure. With a sword in his hand and his chosen path in his heart, he could go on his way with a song on his lips and with nothing to fear, no matter the peril he may face. Kazuha slept soundly that night, his mind at rest while having made peace with his feelings. The next day, he awoke to the sound of birds and a shining vision laying on his chest. Gods look upon you with favor, my friend. Let's get into the voiceovers.
Come driving rain or winds that churn, I shall return by blade alone, armed if barefoot, to my home.
Bars.
I am Kaedehara Kazuha, a wanderer who roams the land. Since we are both travelers, let us journey together for a time.
Hell yeah, dude. Anytime.
This scenery is wonderful. Surely enough to convince anyone to become a wanderer.
He says it differently in this than he does like when you're walking around with him. The tone is a little different.
There are leaves around, and I know just the tune to accompany them, if you wish to hear it. Wherever in this world I roam, I carry memories of my home. This blade. It is the last link I have to the land of my birth.
Yeah, all three of these are actually his idol dialogue, but they sound a little different in cadence compared to like when you're actually with him out in the open.
Taking a stroll in the middle of a downpour certainly rouses the spirit. But it's best to dry your clothes as soon as possible after the rain stops.
Shout out to Mark Whitten, by the way, for the performance.
Compared to the storms I've encountered out at sea, this is really quite tame. I love it when it snows. The world falls completely silent, and I can sleep undisturbed.
I wonder where Kazuha has been if he's seen snow. I doubt Dragonspine. That's so far away from Inazuma and even Liyue. Unless there's snow in Inazuma. I don't know.
Clear weather all around brightens the heart. The bird song at daybreak is nature's gift to us. Let us go. Our journey begins anew. The midday sun has a way of making one yearn for a moment of sleep. Let's say we find ourselves a place to rest. I gaze up at the moon and lend my ear to the gentle breeze, with wine in my cup and peace in my heart.
Let's go.
Have a wonderful evening.
Aw, thanks, Kazuha. You're the mans.
The wind has ceased. The world is silent, so now is the best time to rest well. See you tomorrow. In truth, not every night out at sea is filled with wind and waves. When the weather is clear, the moonlight flows over the rippling water, and schools of fish circle the ship's hull. At moments like that, when I look out into the distance from the prow, I feel like this journey is worth it. The only thing that takes away from that feeling is the sailors singing. They're so loud. Don't they need to sleep?
Oh, Kazuha. I'm enjoying this life on the ocean if only these people weren't so loud. Yo ho, a pirate's life for you.
The Kaedehara clan was once a famed samurai clan. It's a pity that by the time the noble name passed to me, the title itself was all that was left. But it is enough for me. A samurai has no need of a lavish life.
True.
we find all that we need in wine, song, and the blade in our hands.
Hell yeah, dude.
What say you join me out at sea someday when the weather's fine? I like frank people, because we can freely speak our minds to one another. There is no need to hide anything that you wish to say. I hear the voices of all things in nature.
Ooh.
And that includes yours.
Damn, this man's like piercing into my soul.
As I see it, a vision is the proof of one's strength, not the source of it. It symbolizes the mortal desire to always keep moving forward. But in this endeavor, we samurai place our faith in our blades alone.
That makes sense. I like that one.
Ah, you'd like to learn the art of the sword. Let me see. All right. Here, take this. It's a bamboo blade I just made.
Pog.
With these, we can practice sparring without having to worry about getting injured.
That's pretty neat. In the trailer, it's like a red forest. It kind of reminds me of like Forever Fall, but like the red forest that he's in, where like the samurai are like, vision hunt decree, hand over your vision, and he just like one-shots everybody. I wonder if that exists somewhere in Inazuma, because that place looks gorgeous. It looked gorgeous in the trailer. I just hope that it's a real place in Inazuma.
On this mountain path where the red leaves lifeless lie, my heart calls for a companion, echoing the deer's cry. I do love maple leaves, but it is a shame that so many goodbyes seem to happen when they turn red.
That's sad, dude. I mean, is that why he has the red maple leaf on his hip right there with his vision? Is that supposed to like symbolize his friend?
Farewell, dear gulls. Please calm your cries. From this day forth, I am a wanderer once more. I owe Beidou my life.
Hey.
She took me in when I fled from Inazuma, and gave me the courage to return there at the most difficult time of my life.
Wow.
She is a comrade in whom I and all the other sailors can place our trust.
Need I say more about Beidou? She's like one of the best characters in the entire... Oh, what? He talks about all of the other characters? Oh, shit. Oh, I was not expecting that. Again, Beidou, one of the best characters in all of Genshin. Goro, Sara, the Raiden Shogun, Ayaka, Yoimiya. Oh my god. I'm so excited.
When I was a wanted man, the Resistance gave me a lot of help. The time I spent with Goro was brief, but he left a deep impression on me. He's the type of person who says whatever's on his mind. He shares the highs and lows of his subordinates and is never afraid to draw his sword for the sake of a friend. That's the kind of person I can really get along with.
So he has subordinates, so I guess he's a high-ranking person then, maybe? People are saying that he's a Geo bow user, which is interesting. It's the first of its kind. Sara, I'm really stoked to learn more about because she has like the aesthetic that reminds me of Crow from Persona 5 or Persona 5 Royal, for those of you know who I'm talking about. I just love her aesthetic. It's like super dope. I feel like I'm really gonna like her.
She defeated my friend in a duel before the throne, which I accept as proof of her great strength.
Wait a minute. His friend lost to Sara? I thought he lost to the Raiden Shogun. That trailer made it seem like he went up against Ball and lost, but because he lost, he had to face the wrath of Muso no Hirotachi. Okay. I thought it was Ball, because like the trailer definitely made it seem like it was Ball, but Ball was the one who condemned his punishment. But I guess Sara was in the cutscene too, like she was on the bottom corner, but it wasn't clear who he was dueling. So the fact that he got punished by Ball made it seem like he was dueling her. And the fact of the matter is they both had electrovisions.
She defeated my friend in a duel before the throne.
Wow.
Which I accept as proof of her great strength.
Wow.
But she uses that strength to serve as an oppressor's lackey, leading the Kujo clan's troops to relentlessly seek out and confiscate visions. This I cannot forgive.
Yeah, so I really wanted to like her on both terms of gameplay and as a character, but she seems to be very adamant about following in the steps or following in line with the Electro Archon. Maybe Sara is just following in terms of loyalty. I'm interested in Kujo Sara, but I don't know if she's going to be the most morally accepting of characters to me.
I've asked myself this question many times since leaving Inazuma. Do I simply resent the Raiden Shogun because of what happened in that duel? Because of the lethal stroke she dealt my dear friend? I've thought about this a good long time, and I believe the answer is no. My friend died an honorable death in that duel, and the Shogun was not unjustified in her conduct.
Maybe.
My dissatisfaction with her has its roots in the Vision Hunt decree. No one has the right to rob another of their hopes and dreams.
That's true.
Not even a god.
I think that is incredibly mature of him to come to that conclusion. Because I would have thought, like, actually, you know what? That was my boy and you killed him. I resent you for that. But no, like, it makes a lot more sense. Like, he says, like, it wasn't unjustified, but I think it still is unjustified because I don't know why he even challenged her. Well, I mean, I guess he challenged her authority of the Vision Hunt decree. And if that's the reason why she felt the need to punish him, it all stems to the Vision Hunt decree. So it should be one and the same, I think. Nonetheless, yeah, like no god should steal away someone's hopes and dreams. I don't care if you gave me the vision or not.
I'm sure everyone living in Inazuma has heard of the Shirasagi Himegimi.
Not me.
The lady of the Kamisato clan is as perfect as a person can be. Though our paths have seldom crossed, I wonder what she thinks of the state of Inazuma today.
Hopefully we'll find out soon, because I have Ayaka currently at Friendship 4, so once she hits Friendship 6, we'll learn a little bit more about her and how she feels about other characters and a little bit about herself, too. All right, Yoimiya.
The last time she commissioned Captain Beidou to ship fireworks to Liyue, I unloaded the shipment myself. They were so heavy. I doubt that anyone besides her could make such huge fireworks.
That's so cool. He knows a little bit about all the Inazuma people. I think Kokomi is the only other one that isn't showcased here. Oh, no, Sayu. He didn't mention Sayu either, actually.
You'd like to know more about me, you say? Well, as you see, I am but a wandering samurai that you could have run into just about anywhere. I have a very keen sense of hearing. My ears pick up all sorts of sounds. The wind through the mountain passes. The parting clouds. The sound of foxes chewing on apples in the forest. The sound of crabs blowing bubbles. This is nature's favor. It allows me to sense danger long before it draws near.
That's super cool, dude. That's such a nice, like, sixth sense that he got right there.
I used to love the rain when I was small. The sound of it would lull me into a peaceful sleep. But since I've grown older, my feelings have become more complicated. I still like to listen to the rain today, but whenever I see the storm clouds start to gather, my heart sinks. And I can't help but wonder, will some nice person let me stay the night today?
Aww.
Listening to the rain in drenched clothes is hardly peaceful. Nothing can be when you're constantly interrupting yourself by sneezing.
Kazuha. The struggles of a traveling samurai, you know.
I never stay in a single place for very long. Stagnancy dulls both my connection with nature and the blade I wield. While I am still able to, I want to travel far and wide and meet all sorts of different people. Don't worry. Even if the day comes for us to go our separate ways, I am certain that we will meet again. In some corner of the world. The fate that brings people together is not a cord so easily cut.
I pulled you from the gotcha, so you're not going anywhere.
I like falling asleep on a warm rock that's been soaking in the mid-afternoon sun, then waking up and continuing on my journey with no particular aim in mind. So long as I have my blade by my side, there is nowhere I cannot go.
And his vision, thankfully. He still has it.
The sounds of nature turn into a clamor of noise during stormy weather. It becomes a constant buzz in my ears. If it happens at night, I end up tossing and turning all night long without getting a wink of sleep. It's quite the headache.
That makes sense.
The most easily obtainable food source, when you're out at sea, is of course, fish. So it goes without saying that a seafaring adventurer must give careful consideration to how to cook a tasty fish-based meal.
Yeah.
If the chance arises, I'd like you to try some of my cooking.
I don't know if I've made a signature dish or not, but I gotta look into that, actually.
I am not particularly fond of food that's thrown together in a hurry without much care and attention. The way I see it, if your meal consists of a single fish, you should grill it to perfection. Eating is supposed to be an enjoyable experience, so how can we stand to be so slapdash about it?
Slapdash? I've never heard of that before.
My blade grows keener. The sound of snow as it lands on the ground is so faint as to be practically non-existent. But now my senses are sharper than ever, and I believe I should be able to discern it. The waves rise high out in the open seas. I, too, must reach new heights of strength.
Yo, there's another thing here.
As one travels the world, sorrows and frustrations are bound to journey with you. but I find that I've grown since meeting you, both in martial arts and in strength of character.
Good shit.
I am confident that I will be more at ease in life from this point forth.
So I was talking about Kujo-Sara earlier, and I was like, man, I really hope I like her, but she's like a part of the oppressors, and maybe like she'll have a changed opinion as time goes on. There is another dialogue option here about Kujo-Sara changing perspective. Kujo-Sara might have some character development as the Archon quests unfold. We might even get a character hangout or a character quest with her, which I really hope we do. I think she definitely has all of the makings of being one of my favorite characters in the game based on her aesthetic alone and the fact that she seems to be prominent in the Archon quests. So that's very exciting if Kujo-Sara is going to get more development as time goes on. But I love Kazuha. He's a great addition. He's the first Inazuma character that we've gotten in the game. I haven't really gotten to know much of him outside of obviously his trailers. Now that we learn a little bit more, we kind of got like the finite details of how his friend passed, you know, the life that he's lived coming from royalty and basically having nothing to his name by the time that inheritance reached him, how he became a wandering samurai, and what led him to live a life of wandering and being on the run from the government because of the Vision Hunt decree. I wonder how things are going to change for everybody in Inazuma after we deal with whatever conflict is there with Ball, if there are any Fatui present, and so on and so forth, just because I feel like the Vision Hunt decree and the border decree that's going on too, like no one in, no one out, I feel like that's a big part of all of the characters' current moods and motivations and things like that. So I wonder how things are going to change between characters after all of that has passed. I assume the border control is going to be lifted. I assume the Vision Hunt decree is going to be ceased, depending on how we deal with Ball, because once she loses her Gnosis, I feel like that's going to be a big part of taming her. And if we're going to go after her Gnosis, that means that a Fatui is going to have to come back. So maybe La Signora will come back since she was involved in getting Venti's Gnosis and she claimed Zhongli's Gnosis. Maybe she'll come back for Ball's Gnosis, or like a lot of people are hoping that Scaramouche comes back because he seems very involved in Inazuma, his aesthetic, his design, the fact that he looks like he's an Electro character, so that might be pretty cool. Yeah, overall, very excited for the future of the game. I'm caught up with all the characters in their lore as of right now, so I hope you guys enjoy it. And for any future lore that comes out in the future, I will be sure to cover them as soon as I get my characters to Friendship 6, so we don't have to go through 34 character lore entries before I can continue on with content in the game. So I hope you guys enjoyed it.